The Master Magician by Charlie Holmberg. This is a 200-page book, 19 chapters. This is the third book in this series. I actually found out that there is a fourth one. I thought this had, a wrap-up ending. Like I thought that it was a trilogy and it was done, but it turns out there's another. So I'm looking forward to that one. But this one here, Disney owns the movie rights, so I would really enjoy seeing a TV series or a movie set in this universe. It's really cool. So 1900s Great Britain, that is the scene, and magic exists, but it's part of the materials. So you've got paper, fire, metal, plastic, and glass. So those are the materials, and you become a magician by going to school and then apprenticing for 2 years. And usually you get to pick. Most students get to pick. However, there was a shortage of paper magicians. And so the main character, Ceony, was forced into picking paper. And supposedly you're supposed to bond for life. And part of the oath is until I die, I become Earth. And this really was a big deal, right? She wanted to be a metal magician, but is paper instead. So this is the third book in which it's the second year of her apprenticeship, so she can take her test. And really, there is something I want to talk about before with the second review, the second book, The Glass Magician. I said there was too many characters. That was a misunderstanding on my part. My real problem was the title. Instead of saying Mr. or Mrs. in this book, they used the magician title, which is MG. And so it's not a big deal. It's not a showstopper. It just was something that I'm used to reading about characters and being able to pick up their gender based on, either their first name or the Mr. and Mrs. title if they reference their last name or Ms. And the magician, it just took me a second. Every time they referenced the character, I was like, okay, which character is this? It just was like an extra half second of me remembering the character. So nothing against the author. It was just something that I'm not used to. So again, they didn't really take away from the story at all, just something to mention. There were 4 major storylines: the switching of the materials, the magician's test, going after the blood magician, Suraj, and the love story. So I mentioned there was the materials. There's also the quote-unquote bad guys who can use blood, human blood, to perform spells. They can heal themselves, they can heal others, they can paralyze others, they can kill someone with just by touching them and then chanting a spell. So it's pretty intense, and those are the bad guys. So either way, the materials are the key though to all the magic. And in the end of the second one, the bad guy teaches Ceony, the main character, how to switch from one material to the other. First, you unbond from your material by touching the natural substance, the natural elements. So for glass, that would be sand. Paper, it's wood. You get the idea. So by unbonding, then you bond to yourself, and then you rebond to the new material and say the oath. That was a pretty big revelation at the end of the second book, and here it's on full display. At the beginning, Ceony, upgrades her paper dog with rubber foot pads and plastic ribs, so it has a little bit more weight to the dog, Fennel. And really, there were a lot of things I liked. I liked that she wanted to work with metal to begin with. She didn't do a ton of metal spells in this, but it's still kind of cool that she has the ability to. Fire seemed to be the most common one. The chapter headings all are matches, so that is, something that's something to it, that she kind of seems to fall back on fire. That's kind of cool, personally, but and she had a necklace of unbonding. So she made this like charm necklace with all the materials, but also the natural substances, so she could unbond to those materials. So it's probably quite a big, hefty necklace, and she keeps it hidden. And really, that's a tough secret to keep. And right now, the only other person that knows is dead. The bad guy from the second book is dead. So right now, Ceony, I think she told Magician Thane, but he promised he wouldn't tell. So the other storyline is the magician's test. She's approaching the end of her second year. She can take her test after 2 years of her apprenticeship. So she's approaching that date, and it's, like I said, 2 years minimum. And I really enjoyed that it was 58 or 50 some tasks that, it was just a list of vague tasks to accomplish. And it was very open-ended, kind of like essay questions, but, with magic. So very cool. I liked how Ceony did the test. I thought that whole scene was a lot of fun. There was stress and anxiety in it. It wasn't just a clean sweep. There was, some drama to it. I liked that she had 3 weeks to prepare. Magician Bailey gave her a list as soon as she showed up at that new house. And, she was able to work through it and prepare spells for 3 weeks. I also really liked that Magician Bailey didn't give her all the information. Task number 1, a spell to open a door, right? It seems so simple. So she makes a paper arm, reminiscent of the paper skeleton butler that she lived with for so long. So it seems like a simple thing, open a door, right? But she doesn't have all the information, and that is, left out by her new instructor. So that was one of the other storylines. There is Suraj, the bad guy. So from the second one, he was kind of like the lieutenant or, mercenary working with the bad guy in the second book. And, he's on the loose. He breaks out of jail and escapes. And so Ceony, of course, goes after him because she's concerned for her family. In the past, both the bad guys knew the names of all of her family members. So she thinks that the bad guy Suraj could be coming for her family. So she's 21 years old, and of course is, very not ruled by emotion, but, her choices are heavily based on emotion. So I think the choice to go after him made a lot of sense for a younger character. And, she's like, I'll do it myself, right? I can't trust the cabinet to deliberate and all that stuff. So really liked that her character went for it. It really fit her character well. And I liked how, she's a little bit older now. She doesn't have to, do everything herself. She called in and said, hey, the bad guy Suraj has been spotted in this town. And then she went back to studying. I liked that. It wasn't a, like superhuman, superwoman, I'm going to do it all myself. She still kind of like called it in and went back to studying. So I liked that. The birds in the glass, that was super cool. She was able to locate or at least find hints and traces by folding a paper songbird and then giving it instructions and then following it, which, it could have been, any distance, miles away. So I thought that worked out really well. In the glass, she was able to see the reflection of the glass to prove that he was there. So that was kind of cool how she tracked him down. And then the final story arc is the love story between her original teacher and herself. That's why she ends up getting a new teacher to avoid any suspicion of, preferential treatment. And she really ends up living in a new house for 3 weeks with another apprentice. And it just was really cool that, it's like a mansion and she has a lot of flexibility, that kind of thing. But really, it turned out good. I liked the ending. I won't give it away, but now it just feels like, they did the right thing instead of like pushing through and just saying, yeah, we'll worry about that later. They tried to do everything the proper way. And, I believe that I would have handled it the same way. Like if I was either the teachers or the administrators, it made sense and it turned out. So very cool. And like I said, I thought this was the last book, but it turns out there's another one. So I'm looking forward to that. Disney does own the movie rights, and I would enjoy seeing this on the big screen. So this is The Master Magician, a great book. It went by way too fast. It was only 200 pages, great universe, great story, and it went by too fast. So check it out and buy your books used if you can.